might note that in your emails will be minutes will be coming to you they'll be approved unless you have corrections. That's coming in. With that, we'll turn our attention to House Bill 2007. Bill we heard not too long ago from the KCC. Adam, can you give us a briefing on that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2007, like you stated, was requested by the Kansas Corporation Commission, provides comprehensive changes to the motor carrier laws and certain changes to the KCC's regulation of motor carriers. Section 1 would provide that motor carriers may be served with decisions electronically if authorized by the motor carrier. Sections 2 through 7, 10, and 12 would update and repeal certain provisions that no longer apply for motor carrier licensing and regulation or otherwise have been preempted by federal law. Sections 8, 9, and 11 would repeal a provision relating to the KCC's administrative hearing process. Essentially, the current process cited in the statute would be replaced in accordance with the Kansas Administrative Procedure Act for these hearings. And lastly, Section 13 would repeal several statutes dealing with motor carrier assigning or transferring their certificate to another motor carrier and the disallowance of a motor carrier from abandoning or changing their service without getting the consent of the KCC. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions for Adam? Seeing none, committee, what's your pleasure on this bill? Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we amend House Bill 2007, page 7, line 11 by striking the words statute book and inserting the word register.
Seconded by Senator Dietrich. Further discussion on the amendment? HB 2007.
Yeah, House Bill 2007.
Action on bills previously heard right now, sir.
So it's page 7, line 11, which would be the last two words of the bill, just changing statute book to register to make there a conferenceable difference in the bill.
Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Wait a second, see if Senator Hawk has any discussion on changing the statute book to the register on 2007. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Committee, what's your pleasure on the bill? Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee recommend House Bill 2007 favorably for passage as amended.
We have seconded by Senator Dietrich. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Bill is on its way. Thank you, committee. Appreciate that. It's always good to get some into conference. Turn our attention now to a bill that may seem fairly familiar to us, House Bill 2014. I think this is the third time the committee's heard it. Adam, can you give us a briefing on it?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, House Bill 2014 will look somewhat familiar. It's essentially very similar to what is Senate Bill 18, deals with individuals registering military surplus vehicles with the Division of Vehicles for Road Use. Since many people will be familiar with Senate Bill 18, the bill now mirrors 18, except for really one difference, and that deals with 18 stated that the vehicles could not be fully tracked, and the House committee removed the word fully, so it wouldn't be a tracked vehicle. And I'll go through the basic components, but that's the one change to keep in mind between the two bills as they currently exist. Essentially what the bill does, as a reminder, is the bill creates a new definition for military surplus vehicles. And these vehicles would be any vehicles that have 3 axles or fewer, meets the legal size and weight requirements established under current law, is less than 35 years of age, or is less than 35 years old, was manufactured for use in the U.S. military or any other country that was a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization at the time the vehicle was manufactured, and is not a tracked vehicle. And again, this is the one change from not a fully tracked vehicle. Bill also provides these vehicles will be treated similarly as a special interest or a street rod vehicle. There's a registration for 1 year and must be renewed annually with a $26 registration fee and a one-time processing fee of $20. Owners of these vehicles will be issued a special interest plate with a decal. Lastly, the military surplus vehicles will not be registered until a VIN inspection has been completed by the KHP. And lastly, a person who is seeking to register a military surplus vehicle must have at least one other vehicle that is used for regular transportation. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions for Adam? Senator Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify again, the only difference in this bill from the one that we passed, Senate Bill 18, is that fully tracked. Is that what you said?
That is correct. The House committee removed the word fully. It used to say that it does not include a fully tracked vehicle, and now it just says, the language of the bill says does not include a tracked vehicle. So that is the one change.
The rest of it's identical then to what we passed.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So this would eliminate half-track. Sounds like a pretty good amendment they did. Well, we'll open the hearing on, thank you, we're open the hearing on it. Committee, note that we have written-only testimony today. I misjudged the amount of interest in this bill compared to prior years. So with that, we'll ask if there's any neutrals or any further discussion. Senator Hawk.
Mr. Chairman, I would submit written testimony only if that's permissible. Do I need to notify you officially of that?
If you want to say a few words and submit something in writing, that's absolutely fine.
I don't think I need to say anything, but I would submit written testimony. Is that permissible?
That's permissible.
If you would like me to say something, I'm happy to do that.
I think,
Most people prefer I not.
I think we remember Senate Bill 18. Senator Pittman.
Just on that half-track piece, I mean, do we know if there's any organizations that have half-tracks that could talk to that particular amendment? I mean, is there a big issue with half-tracks having licenses? I mean, just because it's the only one difference, I didn't know if anybody had any kind of insight into why or why not.
I don't know, but I believe there's some rules against operating tracked vehicles on the highway. There's some exceptions, I think, for rubber tracks, but I'm not for sure.
It's just that sometimes tracks can actually disperse the weight load much more evenly than actual tires, and so I was just wondering if that had any impact whatsoever on the highways, but since we don't have anybody to confer with, there's no issue there.
Not seeing anybody online that would confer with that. Don't have an answer for you. Adam, was there any discussion in the House committee on that, or Chris?
I mean, if Chris is, he may be available. I'm not sure. I remember sitting through that hearing. I wasn't really directly involved with it. From what I recall, is there was a concern about, just like you stated, using a half track on a. And I do see Chris has jumped on. He can jump in here since he's a little more familiar on the House side. But I think that was the main concern, and I'll pass it to Chris if he has anything to add, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Not a problem.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Wagner from the Revisor's Office. This came up when we were working the bill. It did not come up during a hearing. There was just discussion that maybe the bill was not meant to capture half-track vehicles. And that was pretty much the extent of it. So there was any proponent that spoke on that amendment.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? Any further testimony as a neutral? Oh, Senator Hawk, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did notice the league supported the bill taking that with that wording and excluding tracked vehicles.
Excellent. Deborah, do you have something you wanted to add?
Just to say that we prefer it with the language as you see it now with that amendment.
Thank you. That was Deborah Barnes with the League of Municipalities.
Apologies, I should have said that. Thank you, Chairman.
Committee, any further neutrals? Any opponents? We'll close the hearing on House Bill 2014. Kind of out of character for me, but since we've heard this bill or version 3 times, would anybody on the committee be opposed to working this bill today? Not seeing any objections. Anybody online opposed to it? I know we have committee members online. Not seeing anybody. Committee, what's your pleasure on House Bill 2014? Senator Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we pass House Bill 2014 out favorably for passage.
You wanted to put that on the consent calendar?
Yes. Good idea. Thank you.
Seconded by Senator Clays. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Another one on its way to the consent calendar. Committee, sorry about my scheduling, and we could have probably got another couple bills in. Apologize on that. Thank you for your quick work. With no other further business.